Very warm good morning
ಸೋಮಣ್ಣ
to
ಸರ್ ಒಂದ್
everyone.
ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್
ಇದು
ಸರ್.
ಭೀಮಾ ಯಾವ್ದು ಮನೆನಾ?
ಸೋಮಣ್ಣ ಸರ್.
ನಾವು ಆದಿಶಕ್ತಿ.
ಸೋಮಣ್ಣ
ಹಲೋ,
ಸರ್.
ನಾವು ಆದಿಶಕ್ತಿ ಟ್ಯೂಟೋರಿಯಲ್ಸ್ ಇಂದ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಿರೋದು. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ವಿರಾಜ್ಪೇಟ್ ಚೌಕಿ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ.
Somana sir, are you audible?
Yeah, yeah.
Shall we start?
Audible. So we'll get started. So, good morning once again to all of you. So myself, I am Somana, lecturer in the Department of Journalism.
Somana sir,
Am I audible?
before starting the
Yeah.
program, we have some instruction to the participants. Dear participants,
All
please
right.
don't present in the middle of the presentation. In case if you want to join, ask rejoin or join, and don't press the present button. It will disturb the presentation of the resource persons. So hence we are requesting you to don't present in the middle of the session. Right. And once again, welcome you all for the international webinar on the Department of Journalism organizing. Now I request the HOD Somana IM of Department of Journalism to welcome and introduce the resource person for the gathering. Somana sir, over to you, sir.
Yeah. So on behalf of the esteemed General Governing Council of Cauvery Education Society, the principal, the staff members and the students of Cauvery College Virajpet, I would like to extend a warm welcome to today's international webinar on basic skills and techniques for beginners in technical writing, being organized by the Department of Journalism in association with IQAC cell of our institution. First and foremost, we'd like to cordially welcome our eminent team of resource persons from Usha, who is from United Kingdom, and Radhika from United States of America. And quite literally, they stay a word apart from us. We would like to also welcome and greet our affectionate greetings to all the participants from the teaching fraternity, research scholars, professionals, and from other streams, and the students who have warmly joined today's event. Before we get started with today's session, I would like to provide a brief insight into the enviable profiles of our resource persons who are both alumni of Mysore University. Usha is a native of Mandya, and after completing her post-graduation in journalism and mass communication in 2007 with 4 gold medals, she took up technical writing and has an experience of 13 years. She is currently employed at Docker as a technical writer and resides at Cambridge in United Kingdom. Radhika, who has a technical background, likes to call herself as a technically oriented technical writer and a community enabler, shifted her academic choice from computer science to journalism, and after attaining her post-graduation degree in journalism and mass communication, she has been pursuing a successful career in technical writing. She is employed with SysDig as a technical writer and resides at San Francisco, USA. We are privileged to have both of you for this event, and the most striking novel factor of today's event is that this is being simultaneously organized in 3 different time zones. Usha has cut short her sleep and has woken up at 5 a.m. and is ready to present herself before us at 6 p.m. England timings, and on the other hand, Radhika has held back the sleep till 11 p.m. and is still struck on 9th September. Kudos to both of you as involvement, and now it's time to get started with the session. I would like to request Usha to start with the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Somana. Thank you for the very warm welcome. Hello,
Yeah,
everyone.
Madam Usha, ma'am. Usha, madam, thank you. Yeah, before starting that, I request our honorable principal, Dr. A.S. Poma, madam, to render some presidential remark about this webinar before handing over the session to the resource person.
Sure, that's
Madam,
fine.
over to you.
Okay. Am I audible to all of you?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm really excited to welcome you all to the international webinar on basic skills and techniques for beginners in technical writing. Technical writing is a type of writing where the author is writing about a particular subject that requires direction, instruction, or explanation. This style of writing has a very different purpose and different characteristics than other writing styles such as creative writing, academic writing, or business writing. The main purpose of technical writing is to provide complex information to readers in a way that they can understand and apply even if they don't have prior knowledge of the topic. Technical writing explains how a particular object works or how to complete a task or project. Learning the characteristics of technical writing is essential if you want to build a successful writing career. These days, technical writing is one of the sought after careers for young graduates who are keen on building an interesting career for themselves. Employment of technical writers is projected to grow 8% from 2018 to 2028, faster than the average for all occupations. Employment growth will be driven by the continuing expansion of scientific and technical products. Technical writers combine great language skills with some other specialty, and that's why they are paid more than language teachers on average. It's a decent paying writing job, which is a good start. Hence, the importance of technical writing will be unraveled by the two main speakers of today's webinar, Ms. Usha Mandya from UK and Radhika Putieta from San Francisco, USA. I'm sure they will throw more light on the opportunities that the learners can look forward to in getting special training on technical writing in top-notch training centers available in the country, so that our students and also earnest seekers can apply and get themselves admitted to become professional technical writers and earn a decent salary. I wish the resource persons would explore technical writer openings in a desired location so to help our listeners. How I wish some of our students would opt to become technical writers and make a mark either in the MNCs or IT sectors or in the world of science and medicine and so on. Graduates in journalism, communication, and engineering background can easily opt to become technical writers, but ultimately one should have a passion for it to become an effective and an innovative technical writer of style. I congratulate the Department of Journalism for taking up such a wonderful and useful topic for deliberation, discussion, and exploration to know the nuances of technical writing and finally positing the significance of technical writing in today's world of science and technology. I wish everyone participating in the webinar to reap some benefits or the other, not only to themselves, but also for others. Thank you so much. I wish all of you an exhilarating experience today. Thank you.
Usha, you can
Thank you,
get
madam.
started.
Thank you, madam.
Yeah.
Before construction, dear all participants, in middle, if you have any queries regarding any in the presentation, please put it in the chat box so that we will take up in the after the presentation for clarification. So thank you, Madam Usha, madam. Over to you, madam.
Sure, thank you. So let me present. So thank you so much for such a warm welcome. I really appreciate it. As Somana said, I'm from India and I have a very special connection with Ku, for Cauvery and all other reasons. So very excited and happy to be presenting it to you all today.
Yeah.
So let me just present my screen. Right.
Same problem.
So why are we here today? So why is Radhika up until 11 p.m. and then why am I up in the morning presenting something about technical writing? As the principal ma'am explained, it's a nice career which is kind of taken off in the last decade or so. So we're here as we were students of journalism, and I had an English literature background, whereas Radhika had computer science background. But that doesn't matter. What matters is your interest and passion about technical writing. So we are here today in this webinar to explain you some of the concepts and explain you some of the skills and the basic techniques that you would need to become a technical writer. So what are we going to cover today? So we're going to cover what exactly is technical communication, what technical writing is, and how this is different from your scientific writing, for example, or even the journalistic, feature writing, right? So, or when you're writing a thesis, how could that be different? That's technical as well. So what differentiates that form of writing versus technical writing? So we'll cover that, and we'll also see what exactly do a technical writer do on a day-to-day basis. Do we just sit in one room writing documents from morning till evening, or is there something else to it, maybe interacting with other people? So do we just work in silos or work with other teams? So what exactly happens on a specific day? So and also everyone can write. So what makes a good documentation, right? What makes an effective technical document? So some characteristics. So this thing can go take up an entire course on its own, but given the time, we're trying to stress on the key aspects of an effective technical document. So what are the key skills that you need to learn to write a good documentation? And for those of you who are kind of keen on taking technical writing as a career, we kind of came up with a couple of questions that you can ask yourself and say, hey, can I become a technical writer? So I didn't even know what technical writing was when I was doing my journalism course, but that's quite new. So there were some questions that I kind of asked myself, so which you can do too. And then if this is something that interests you, if you're up for, learning new skills, definitely you can become a technical writer. So we'll touch some of those aspects here. And also, okay, you attended this webinar, and what happens tomorrow, right? So you go home, you go, have your dinner, and then tomorrow you think about this webinar, and what are the next steps? So so we give you some pointers in terms of learning, brushing up your maybe your English skills, or learning about technical writing in general. There are so many online courses out there. So we also have some pointers that you can start, in your own pace, a self-paced learning into technical writing. You don't have to just go enroll into a course tomorrow, but you can start learning about tech writing in your own pace. And also some style guides and links to things like that. And yeah, that's kind of the things we are trying to cover. This can be an entire course on its own, but given the time, we are trying to cover some of the key areas. So with that, I would like to hand it over to my friend Radhika to get started, kick off the session. Radhika, over to you now.
Sure. Thanks to everyone here for being here and giving us this opportunity to interact with you and share have acquired on job about this wonderful career in technical communication. So I'm from Wayanad, so I know that we are neighbors, and there is a connection, close connection, like Usha said. We are all neighbors, so happy to be here. So what's technical communication? So our respectable principal ma'am has given a great introduction. So she covered most of the things. So we just have to repeat some of the aspects. So if you look at technical communication and any traditional discourse like academic writing, journalistic writing, or so there is technology and there is communication. And it is helping a user with specific instruction to use a product or complete a task in hand. It is as simple as that. So let's come back to the term technical communication. As I said, there is two things, technology and communication. On one side, there is technology.
Radhika, sorry, 1 second. Radhika, sorry, 1 second. Can anyone who's not speaking please mute, because it's really getting difficult for others to hear? And can all participants who are not talking, please mute yourself? Thank you.
Thanks, Usha. So let me repeat. So what I'm talking about is technical communication, which is similar to other type of traditional discourses like creative writing, academic writing, or journalistic writing. So if you look at the term technical communication, so there is technology on one side, there is communication. So if you look closer, there is audience on one side who want to use this technology, and one end there is a complex technology. And what technical communicators would do is communicate that complex technology to the users so that they can complete their task in hand or use that product. How do you do that? So just let's consider we all use WhatsApp. It's a most common app. So we have seen that tick marks, right? One tick, two ticks, and then blue marks. So as a user, I used to wonder, what does it mean? What does it each tick mark imply? So what I do is, as a user, I go and search. So enter some terms. What do tick marks imply? And some information pop up. So that is what exactly a typical user would do. It's a simple use case. WhatsApp case is a simple use case. So what I was trying to do is, I have a task. I want to understand whether am I blocked by someone? Is my message, reach the person? So that is what I was trying to do. And I want to know what is going on with that tick marks. That is a simple use case. So most of us here are like from mass communication background. So we are comfortable. We have seen certain type of communication models. So one of that is Berlow's communication model. So SMDR. So there is sender, there is a message and channel and a receiver. So let's come to technical communication. So there is technology on one side, there is audience on the one side. So who is the sender? As technical writer or technical communication professional who create content, illustrations, videos, and so on, that is the sender. And what is the communication? What is the message in that? The content that you create as a technical writer is the message. And how you make it available to the audience, who's the receiver, is the channel. So which could be a website. Maybe that content is going with the product itself. When you use that app, when you click help, you might get help materials or support. So I'm not going into details. Let's take, like, could you move to next one? Yeah. Let's compare with other types of writing and see. So let's come back to this communication model. So Berlow says every message has certain elements: tone, organization, and languages. So let's look at creative writing. So we pick up books to read a novel or a story. So why do we do that? It's a leisure writing. So we are reading a novel to entertain ourselves. So as creative writers, what they do is they pick up words that appeal to our emotions. Is it evoking the emotion so that there is a connection made between the writer of the novel and the reader? And the audience, it's generic. We don't know. As creative writers, we don't know who's going to read our novel or story. And you can use imagination. There is no restriction of using language. Any flowery language you can use to, create setting and the mood and tone and so on and so on. So there is no clear definition of specified audience. Any language, any words, any organization, and as a writer, you're free to use. Let's come to let's come to the journalistic writing, which is another spectrum. So yes, we are the intent. The purpose is to inform the audience. Again, the audience is not specified audience, is generic. So you are informing about an event. So in journalistic writing, yes, we do write human interested stories that pull the heartstrings, right, to evoke the emotions. But the audience is not clear. And the point is, we are giving factual information, not fabricated. So let's come to academic writing. So what academic writing do? So if you look at any kind of academic writing, it's scholarly articles. So it might be a research paper. You're trying to prove your point. You have a hypothesis and you did some research and you made a point and you are putting it across to a knowledgeable audience. So if you take medicine, there are like certain vocabulary which is only understood by the medical professionals. Likewise, in academic writing, you can use any words that the particular audience, the knowledgeable audience, can understand. So there is no limit as in like how many words you can use, what organization, and so on and so on. So there is a well-defined audience, but the audience is highly educated and highly skilled who can understand the jargons that as a research academic writer would use. Now let's come back to technical communication. So why do we use technical documentation? It's not leisure reading, and we don't go and read technical documentation for fun, right? So you have some task in hand. As I said, like, you want to know whether you are blocked by your friend, or so you're while browsing Facebook, you heard about a new feature on WhatsApp, say two-factor authentication. What is it? Two-factor authentication. It's some security aspects. How do I use it? How do I make sure that my WhatsApp chat is secured? So you go and type two-step authentication, and the help material pops up, right? So that is technical communication. So you have a problem and you are frustrated and you want to get it solved. You don't have time to call up the support and get it done. So within that limited time, you have to solve that problem. So you approach the support page or help page. So as a technical writer, you should understand the user who's coming to this page is frustrated. So give as less, like in fewer words, you have to communicate what you wanted to communicate. So and use simple words, because they don't have the time to refer dictionary. Nobody would love to refer dictionary, especially when you're frustrated, right? So use simple words and convey more with fewer words. That is some aspects of technical communication, which I can touch base in later slides. Usha, could you click those links so that I can show the difference in technical writing? And so yeah, and there is another link. Could you? Yes, exactly. Could you scroll down? So if it's a journalistic writing, but it has a human interest story. So what it says, it's talking about two-step authentication. So if you scroll a little up, so it's talking about a lady who has lost the PIN. So you know, like how to set up two-step authentication, right? So when you install WhatsApp, you get a PIN. And yes, that is used to register. So you can have an additional PIN which is sent to your email. So in this journalistic article, it's saying that a lady who shared that passcode through text, and someone hacked it and she lost the account. So what it is trying to say, it's not just trying to, it's just giving an example and, you evoking the emotion. When you read the news, you will feel that, okay, what happens if I lose my PIN? So it's trying to, pull that heartstring and evoke the emotion. So let's come back to the technical writing. So in this, just you scroll down a bit. So it's directly saying what is two-step authentication and how to do it. You go to setting, you select account, two-step verification, enable, simple, and some extra information is given. So you can optionally enter your email and how long that passcode will last, and when you have to like re-enable it, so and on. So you see the difference in in journalistic writing. There are like, you write to appeal to the emotions, and because it's a human interest story. And on the other hand, in technical writing, you are directly you have a problem, you want to enable two-step verification, how to do it, and if you want more information, it's given as direct as possible. So could you come back to the slides, please? Okay. So let's look at so next slide, please. Let's look at a simple example of single sign-on. So single sign-on, it's nothing complex. It's like your badge. So you can use your college badge to, access the building, go to the lab, access other material library, so on. So the single sign-on means you can, enter your credential, username and password to one app, and using the same app, you can log into multiple apps. For example, you log into Gmail and you can access your Google Drive, Google Classroom, photos, so and so. So let's see how in technical writing single sign-on is explained. So it says single sign-on means you don't have to sign into every application you use. You can sign in once and you are automatically signed into other application too with the same credential. Simple, direct, to the point. Let's see in academic writing. Single sign-on protocols. What is protocols? Only a specialized knowledge person can understand. Enable companies to establish a federated environment. What is federated environment? Nobody knows, no common man can understand. In which clients, whose client, sign in the system once and yet are able to access to services controlled by different companies. The OASIS security assertion markup language, no. It's so complicated. Only specialized knowledge. If you know that, domain, you know these jargons. It is, this vocabulary is noise for a common, when you consider the communication model, it's noise. It's filled with jargons, and jargons is understood, those particular vocabulary is understood only by the specialized knowledge persons. Let's come to creative writing. You can use imagination, any word, and you're just putting it across. Once you step in, you are embraced everywhere you set footing. Simple imagination, imaginating, and you're being creative, and you're saying, just enter your credential once, you're everywhere. It's simple as. Could you move to next slide, Usha? So now let's see, where do technical writers work? So as you know, Usha and myself, we work in a computer software field, so which is the most sought after, and definitely it is the lucrative one. Technical writers field is not just limited to computer software field. There are writers who work in technology, science, business, government, medicine, and so on. So the beauty of technical writing is, see, not everybody can become a pilot or astronaut or a doctor, but as writers, you can be part of the industry and rub shoulders with the function, the professionals. So if you look at us, like Usha and me, so we use the same tools as the engineers, the developers use. We check in our work to the same repository that they do, that they check in. So we do almost all tasks, even sometimes to an extent we code. So though we are not engineers, we do the same almost all the tasks. So that is the beauty of technical writing. So let's see what they in medicine and government and insurance, what they do. So mostly in government and insurance, they develop document reports and around policies and standards and so on and on. So in business, you write say proposals and reports that elicit a business response, and in high tech it mostly turn into academic style writing with that you have seen, like how you're written single sign on. So as technical writers, you are free to choose your field. It's all about your passion. If you are really passionate about your field, you can choose any field that you like. And so as we are from the technical software field, we are focusing on software industry in this session. With that said, I will hand it over to Usha to take it further.
Sorry, I was on mute. Sorry. Thanks, Radhika. So Radhika gave a very good example of WhatsApp, and we kind of now have a notion of what technical writing is all about, and then how it is different from our journalistic writing or scientific writing or research writing, right? So what exactly do technical writers write? So I'm trying to give some examples that you can all relate to, and then we will try and relate something to software or the technology as well. So let's take an example of WhatsApp. We kind of using the WhatsApp examples because most of us will be using it. So so if I'm a technical writer for WhatsApp, so let's imagine WhatsApp is something new that we don't know anything about. So even before I install WhatsApp, I would go and I would like to know what exactly it was about. Why do I have to use it? So there will be an overview of WhatsApp, what exactly, are we trying to, the problem we are trying to solve. So the problem here is like, I would like to chat with all my friends and I'd like to create groups, right? So these are kind of the features that WhatsApp introduces. So, and also there will be documentation on, how WhatsApp is different from other chat applications. It could be Messenger. How is WhatsApp different from Messenger? Or how is WhatsApp different from like a Slack, which is another chat tool. So similarly in a software environment, so what we write about is, what the product is all about. There will be some sort of conceptual information to give an idea for users even before they buy the software and even before they install and download it. So there's that information, and also what are the advantages of using it, and what are the features of this product, how is this one different from someone else, like who's a competitor. So and also you have instructions on how to download it, how to install it. Because software is slightly complicated, it's not as simple as downloading WhatsApp from the Play Store, right? So there will be certain steps that are involved in installing and using the product. So a technical writer would typically write all these steps. How do we install? When you install, are there anything else that you need to provide? It could be some something about your computer or your credentials, like single sign-on. So do you have to use the same password everywhere, or do you have to create new ones? So things like that. So some intricate information in there. And I know if I'm stuck, let's say I'm using a software product, but I'm not able to complete it. So another example that we could use here is you're setting up an operating system on your parents' laptop, and you're stuck somewhere and you don't know what to do. So you need to troubleshoot at that stage. So maybe it's giving an error and you don't understand what the error is. So typically in a software environment, there will be some troubleshooting information. So it says if you see this error, it means you have this problem and this is how you work around the problem. So there will be information about troubleshooting. And very typically in a software release, how you get updates for your WhatsApp and other applications, there'll be newer version of a product. So every time there's a newer version, there will be new features that get introduced as part of the new version. And also there'll be some bugs or the issues that were fixed. Maybe you were, someone was not able to, on Android, there was a problem that was not letting someone send broadcast messages. I'm just giving some examples here. So that was fixed in a later version of the product. So all that information goes into technical documentation to say, hey, this is version 1.2.3, and this version introduces the following new features, and then it fixes some of the issues that was faced by previous users. So that kind of information will be written in such documents. So while we write this, it's very important to keep these three things in mind, which is context. As I said, you need to understand what exactly you're writing. What's the purpose of this document? So it is to solve a user's problem. It's, as Radhika said, it's not a bedtime story. You don't read a technical documentation when you go to bed. You only read it when you want to achieve a specific task. So when you're writing, it's very, very important to keep your users in mind who will read your document. So when it comes to WhatsApp, it will be used by probably millions of people all across the world. So it's very important in that context to make sure you only use very simple words that everyone can understand. So you don't have to go and refer to a dictionary. You don't have to think, what exactly that means when you read this document. Whereas in the technical or the software world, you need to understand who your audience is, and then based on that you write. So the software developers are familiar with certain terminologies. So you need to make sure you use those words when you write about some specific technology. So, and similarly in the science background, let's say when you write for a scientific audience, you make sure that, they understand. You kind of assume some sort of knowledge, but not everything. But again, it depends on who you are writing for. And most of most of these documents will not be written by will not be read by users whose first language is English. So you need to make sure you try to be use as simple and clear as possible, while also keeping the context in mind. So and then so we kind of know now, what do technical writers write, and then how do we even write this about? So how do I, as Radhika said, we have I did my BA in English literature and then master's in journalism, and Radhika had computer science background and then journalism. So but this is completely different to the domain that we're working on. So so we have to do some research in that case. So you try and install the product first. So let's take our WhatsApp example again. So if there's a new version of a WhatsApp, and if I'm a writer for WhatsApp, I would install WhatsApp on my mobile and then see what the new feature is. Try to understand, let's say, we come up with a new, like a feature, for example, you can only share status to like one group, or you can only select groups that you already have when you share your status messages. So if that's the case, so I would go and install it and make sure I try out this feature even before I write about it, and then understand whether that works the same on an iPhone versus an Android phone, and then make sure everything works correctly. So while doing it, I'll also talk to like the people who are called subject matter experts. So these are like the developers who write software, and also like the testers who kind of make sure it works as expected. So as a writer, I'm also testing the software. I install it, play with it multiple times, try from different use cases. I'll try it on my like laptop and see whether it works, the feature works a similar way, and also try on different platforms. And in a software, as I said, the domain is completely different from what we studied. And every time you go to a new company, you can't expect it to be the same domain. So there will be some new technology and skills that you need to pick up. So you do some homework to understand, what exactly those terminologies mean to you. And it's just like some homework before you talk to the people. So you at least have some sort of knowledge before you talk to them. And do some research about like the audience and how the same information is being conveyed by a different product. Let's say there's a competitor for WhatsApp, let's say Telegram or something. So how they have written documentation for a similar feature. You do some analysis, you do some research. So to say how they have tackled. Again, you can think of, journalism examples, like how different newspapers cover the same information in different ways. The headline could be different, the way they approach could be different. So it's very similar. You can draw a lot of inferences from journalism to technical writing as well. And then once you know what you're writing about, you develop like a strategy to say, okay, I need to document how to download this product, how to install it. So while installing, I need to make sure I cover the following information. So you come up with a strategy for your document. And then once that's done, you start drafting it and create some illustrations. So you're all, like most of you are probably students of journalism. I don't have to say that, one picture is equal to like 1,000 words. So that same thing applies in technical documentation as well. So if you're writing for a complex user interface in a software, so it would be good for your user to see how the UI looks like how the different fields that are available. Just a screenshot goes a long way for a user to understand what exactly is happening. And there could be some graphics, there could be some architecture diagrams to explain how this entire technology works. And you would have seen it in some newspapers when they were trying to explain, like maybe when, some scientific achievements. So making sure the layman understands these. So illustrations are very important. They help a lot. And maybe creating a table. So if we are doing some stats or some comparisons, rather than writing pages of just words, a table or formatting it in a different way, creating a bulleted list. So all those help a lot in making the user understand. So these kind of some of the key areas that we focus on. And so we now know what you write and how you write it. So how exactly you write, what tools do you use? So this is like a list of some tools that are commonly used in the tech writing industry, but you don't have to know everything. When I joined as a technical writer, I didn't have any clue about the tools that they were using. And it's very easy to pick up these tools. And you just need an aptitude to learn new skills. So Markdown authoring is kind of now something that's kind of picked up very of late, and many software houses use it. So it's very structured in the sense that you are not allowed to define everything. So there's already some a framework. You operate within that framework. And some of the examples are Atom, Sublime Text. These are some tools that you use. And in a second, I'll show you what exactly Markdown looks like. And structured authoring, Radhika will slightly cover like all these tools like in structured authoring. And then some companies, like, very short groups or very small groups, they might be just using like Microsoft Word, for example. That is still possible. Or there's like a wiki page that you can use to write documentation. And for all your graphics and illustrations, like, Adobe Photoshop, probably you'll be using it. Many of you may be aware of it. And Adobe Illustrator, Snagit, and Figma. So let me just pause here and then show you a quick sneak into like, what Markdown looks like. So that's like a document. So in Markdown, so I'm using a tool called Visual Studio Code. So this is my Markdown document. So it has like a description, it has a keyword and title, and then you define your table of contents. And then 1 hash means that's heading 1, 2 hashes mean like it's heading 2. And then you have some prerequisites, like, that's like how you do like a numbered list versus like a bulleted list. It's not like computer science or like, rocket science. So it's very easy to pick up. So let me just give you another example where in the current example, like this is a document from my work. So that's about, like a release note where like, this is the version. And so it upgrades the following, like there's an upgrade, there are some bug fixes, and link into how do you download the actual software. So that's like a tool called Markdown. And we also use something called like, the company I work for, the documents are community driven, as in like, most of the docs are open source. Anyone can contribute to this documentation. You don't have to be like an author or an employee of a specific company. In which case the community, when I say community, it's the people who use this product. They can come up and write documentation. So let me just open one example here. They can contribute to like this document. They could say, hey, I would like to update some, like there's something that's missing here. I'm going to add, like there's a very minor example, like, the link is not working because there's a missing like information in here. So anyone can go and create and update the documentation. This will then be reviewed by the actual company, like the writers in the company. And then once I'm happy, I would just go and say like, approve this and then publish the content. So that's just another example of open source. We can just go days and days or probably like, discussing about open source software and contribution. But this is just to give you a flavor of what exactly and these tools and different ways of writing content. So let me just ask Radhika to share some of the tools that she uses at her work, so you can also get like an understanding of that. Radhika, I'll stop presenting. Maybe you can, do you want to present it?
Okay. Let me share my screen. Okay. So can you see my screen now? Can you see my screen?
Yeah, okay. You can see it.
So this is, so I'm going to show you what is structured authoring is. So what structured authoring is means is the tool that you use would impose certain structure. So as writers, you cannot, decide where heading should be used, where should paragraph. So it's decided by the tool. Say for example, I'm creating a new content. Say I just named test2 and create a topic. So I created. So test2 is created. You see here. So it automatically picks up the title from its name, and you can add a paragraph. Say for example, you want to start with a paragraph. You try to enter. See, entering paragraph is not allowed by this tool. This is a way of doing structured authoring. So this is XML based, and it has its own style. So style means certain elements are not allowed under other elements, only certain elements are allowed. Say, for example, under section, you have to directly start with a paragraph. Then you can enter only these many elements like section, paragraph, figure, so and so and so. So whereas when you look at a simple Word document, you can start with a paragraph or you can start with a heading. There is no restriction. So I'll show you a wiki page probably. So this is a simple wiki page. So this is unstructured because you can start with, definitely this has a title page, but you can start with a paragraph also. This is the, definitely each page will have a title, but you can type in with a paragraph, or you can insert an image, you know, you can upload an image from, you can insert a table and so and so. This is unstructured ordering. And you're familiar with Google Doc. Even for Google Doc, you can start with a paragraph and the tool doesn't impose any structure, and as writers you have complete freedom to choose the structure. So with that said, I will give back to Usha.
Thank you, Radhika. Let me present. Can you all see my screen? Hey, can you all see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay, 1 second. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So, yeah, we've been discussing about, how to write and, the authoring tools and all that. So we kind of slightly touched this area before. So what happens on a typical day for a technical writer, right? So do we just write documentation from morning till evening? So no, that's not what you think happens on a typical day. So as a technical writer, the first thing, as I walk into office, well, not really office anymore because we are all working from home. But the first thing you would go, as we all do, is check our mobile for our messages, right? We'll check our WhatsApp messages. In a similar way, we just go and then there's like a chat, like an application that most of the software companies use. So I would check my message to see if there's anything that I need to understand and or respond to, so that you read those messages and respond wherever applicable. And then there will be emails. It could be about an upcoming release or about a meeting or someone asking for more information. So you would read and respond to all those emails and messengers. And then a lot of collaboration happens in the life of a technical writer on a typical day. So it could be attending meetings to understand, when is the release happening. It could be a discussion where the team is trying to understand how best to approach a feature. So it could be to understand, some designers, they come up with some user interfaces that you see. So a discussion to see whether version 1 works better or version 2. So you get involved in all these messages, and sometimes you contribute wordings for those as well, that in the user interface that you see, to make sure that's aligned with the style. So you attend a lot of meetings like that, and very specifically when you're working on a specific feature, you go and discuss with the subject matter experts. So it could be a developer who wrote the code for a feature. So I would arrange a session with the person and then say, hey, can we get in touch? And then, can we sync to understand how exactly this feature works? Can you give me a demo? They could be they would give me a demo, which I then try and install and then play with the product. And then, so once I have a framework in mind, so that's when you start developing content. So you have a draft in mind, you just create a skeleton to say this is what I would like to write. And then you plan it, very similar to your journalism, right? So you need to plan or have a plan before you write anything. So you design some content. If it's a 5-page document, let's say, so you would need to understand when exactly to add information about installation. You can't put installation towards the end, it has to be in the beginning. And the configuration and troubleshooting happens usually at the end. So you have some kind of framework to help users understand the content better. So, and then, once the draft is ready, you share it with all the experts or the subject matter experts. It could be the developer who wrote code. It could be the testing team. In a software environment, there's usually a development and a testing team, and also the product managers. So the product managers here are people who get in touch with users understand what the requirements are, and they communicate those requirements to the software teams, like, and they discuss those, which are the ones that we're planning to do in a specific release. So to make sure they know what the document looks like and they're happy with all the benefits that we have written. And so send it for reviews, and usually get some feedback from them. So you address all the feedback, and once everyone is happy with it, you go and publish your document. So in a typical release, a document always accompanies a software release. When someone downloads excuse me, software, they usually read the document that accompanies the release. So and that's not the end. So even when the release is out and the documentation is published, you need to gather feedback from users. So there are different ways that organizations collect feedback. So sometimes you would see like a button that says, click here to give feedback, or was this article helpful? That's how you get feedback from users. So there are some organizations where you just click and then say, if you like it, they say, what do you like about this page? And if you don't like it, they say, how can we improve this page? So a user would try and give them examples to say, why. Maybe they thought it was not complete. Maybe they thought that there was some missing gaps in the information. So you get all sorts of feedback, and then you try and fix those gaps as well. So as I said, it's not just writing 100% of the time. So 30% of the time, that's only when you create content, and then other 30% you communicate, you build relationships. So the good relationships you build, like your job will be easier. So you need to build with the testing team, with the developers, with the product managers, and so you can't just be an introvert or sit in your own silo. And then 10% of the time you troubleshoot. It could be related to the authoring tool you're using. It could be related to the document that you're writing. So, and while doing that, you every day you acquire new skills. So the only thing Radhika and I are trying to say is anyone can become a technical writer. If I can become, you can also become. All you need is the passion to learn new things, and then keeping an open mind. So with that, I'll hand it over to Radhika to cover the next set of slides. Radhika, over to you.
Thanks, Usha. So let's come back to the writing part. So remember, I mentioned about the Lowe's communication style, and the message will have certain elements, certain quality elements. That is what we are going to cover in the next few slides. So all that quality elements, language, organization, tone, and so on, all boils down to three things. Is the content easy to find? Is it easy to understand? And is it easy to use? So sender, as technical writer, you are creating content, you are making it available through a channel, and the audience, if the audience receives as it is, the communication is not lost, it's successful. If the user cannot find it, there is no point in a writer creating a content or making it available. Say, for example, you create a great content, and say there is a technical glitch and there is no Wi-Fi, no internet. If the audience cannot find it, there is no point. Okay, he went and searched on Google. If I cannot find, no point. So how to make it available, make it easy to retrieve it, and how to make it easier to understand and use it, and make a meaningful impact of the technical documentation on the user. Could you move to next slide? So the first thing first. So if the user cannot find the information, then there is nothing, right? So how to make it easy to find? So first thing is, how do you organize the content? What is organization? It's nothing but a coherent arranged information in similar way. I'm not going to detail. I can show a very good example of WhatsApp help. So could you click the WhatsApp FAQ? Yes. So if you see how they have organized similar content in a similar way. So if you're looking, if you're, say, for example, you're using Android phone and you have some questions, you click on Android. Say, for example, you have a problem with security, you go to security. There is a tab entirely for security and several FAQs. See, it's totally described there. So if you look at that, what they have done is they have created buckets the way user will search, and similar information is grouped together and organized in a coherent way. This is the simple example, and I'm not going to detail considering the time. We have to beat the clock. So next point is how to retrieve information. So let's as users, how do we search for information? So we have some search terms. So we go and hit those terms on Google or on, like, say, the help, the search page on the help website. So say, for example, you want to understand two-step authentication. So we come here and type two-step verifications or two-step authentication, right? So we know the exact keyword that a user will search for. See, it came up. So when you create content and when you create the title, make sure that you know the keywords and you use those keywords sparingly in the content and as a title. That is the way you make sure that the information is retrievable, right? Because they don't have the time to do hit search. They don't have the time. They are frustrated because they have a problem in hand. They want to solve as early as, like, quickly and get going. So consider their mindset, be empathetic, and organize the content in their way that it's easy to find. The next thing is visual impact. How you use visual cues. So as most of us are like, we don't like wade through text. We love to see pictures, and as Usha said, we all know pictures speak 1,000 words, right? Look at this beautiful illustration. So much impact it has. You just look at, see, it's how to save yourself from scam. What you have to show. Never share your 6 digits registration code, and it's showing that. Enable two-step verification. Don't share personal. There are like 4 steps, and with impactful illustration, they are telling a story. They are instructing you, don't share your personal information. This is what an example. This is how you make a content visually appealing to the users. Could you come back to the slide? So let's move on to the next aspect. So how to make it easy to understand. It's mostly deal with the language part, whether it is understandable, like, is it clear enough? Is it concrete? And are we using certain style aspects? So what is clarity? So it's as simple as using simple words and telling more with fewer words. Nobody has time to wade through all the text you put in the technical documentation. It's so boring. So use minimal words. Minimalism is very important in technical documentation. So what is minimalism? Say, like, for example, you can say, do not allow 3 words. You can just say prevent. This app prevent you from installing so and so. It's more, the word count is less. Or not able, you can use unable. And does not allow, you can say doesn't have, it lacks. So use those strong, meaningful, impactful verbs rather than using strings of words. And other thing is a concreteness, like include everything is required with examples. So simply giving information may not be enough. So it should be concrete, it should be complete. And coming to the style part, so there are like several style guides. It's mostly deal with the language part, how information should be given, like use short sentence, what is parallelism, how to structure list, how to structure procedures. when you do that, use direct, imperative sentence, and use active voice direct to the user. Say, for example, say, this machine should be restarted. Restarted by whom? Can I restart, or should I call the admin, or should I call the support system? It's not clear, right? Say, restart the system. Install the app, restart the system. It is simple, short, direct. So that is the clarity all about. So could you click on the examples? We can show some great example from WhatsApp. Look at the content. So it's talking about how to format your message. So they have structured beautifully, like how to create italic, bold, strike through with examples. See, how do you do strike through? See, this is how you produce clear instruction. And see, for Android, what you're supposed to do. For iPhone, how to do. This is how you beautifully organize the content, follow a style, and complete and concrete with examples. So there is another link. So if you click, no. So if you go to the slide, so yeah, the second one, WhatsApp business. So WhatsApp business, we don't know what is business. WhatsApp business is what this content is doing. You are explaining what is WhatsApp business. So it's a new term. So what this help is you are introducing a new term by defining it. What is WhatsApp business? It's a free to download app, and it's explaining its features and how to use it. And if you want more information, it's giving related resources, related links where you can go and read about. This is how you organize and present information clearly with in a simple way, so that user will not be confused. Can you go to the, I think one more example is there in the same slide. Yeah, concreteness, yes. So how to use click to chat? So you can give a link and to any person, and using that link, you can continue chatting. So if you look at the content, see, so the link wa.me and the number, and it says, see, use this and do not use like this. Do not use plus zeros, the country code. So how the format? See, this is how you format the number. See, suppose you are not giving this example. See, you are definitely you are getting confused to give this number, right? So this is what concreteness all about. Give examples so that people will not be confused about using an instruction. Same way, you can click and send a text. So what is the format? You give w.me, WhatsApp number. So here is the way you give the number, and text equal to within quotation the text. So this is a good example of being concrete, giving proper examples so that it is free from ambiguity. It's clear to the point. There is no room for confusions. So let's come back to the slide. So I hope by now you know how to make it understandable with giving examples and using simple and direct short sentences, and following a style. So most of the companies will have a in-house style guide with what terminology to use and how to structure information. But the most popular ones out in the industry are like Chicago Manual of Style, Microsoft Manual of Style, IBM Style, and so on. And companies might be using a subset of these style guide. So more or less, it's all talk about how to communicate, how to use correct grammar, how to make a shorter sentence and impactful sentence, and so on. So let's move to the next slide. So, okay, we made the content easy to retrieve and easy to understandable, and how to make it easy to use. So, say you have structured the content, you gave instruction, say it is not up to date. Say yesterday they have changed some settings. So for two sets authentication settings, any two-step authentication enable, that option has changed to something accounts two-step authentication and enable. So people will be confused, say you haven't updated that information in the document, so that means it's not accurate, it's not correct, because the option has changed. So make sure that you have the up-to-date information available in the documentation. And next is complete. So make sure that all the information in hand, so all the information required to complete a task is provided, and only those information, nothing extra, no extraneous information. So if you give extra information, it confuses people, and it's waste of time. Some people might like go through that and get confused with, bogged down with lots of information. So give only those information that required to complete that task in hand. So you can organize content like, topic, concept, and reference. So topic is like task oriented, like say step 1, download WhatsApp from Play Store, click install, give your give your phone number and collect the passcode, enter the passcode, done. That is the step-by-step task-oriented instruction. And you can give examples to make sure that they give the correct code, correct way to enter the your phone number and so on. So it's all about being correct, the information being correct, making available the correct information and being complete, and the instruction is structured in a sequential way. And if you have a long list of tasks, make subtasks so that there will be sub chunks so that people will not be confused. I think there is an example of task oriented information from the WhatsApp link, so that yeah, so it's a very good example. So see, it's how to share WhatsApp status to other apps. So they have given a screenshot illustration to capture our attention. See, open WhatsApp, tap status, and see how they have made sub task underneath. So you can do two options. You have two sharing option, and they have included the subtask within a set of tasks. This is how you structure so that you know where to stop and which is part of a parent task. So, and then see again the organization. They have given additional information to make sure that there are prerequisites. So they have given under the note. So this is a very good example of organizing content. Again, see, for Android, different instruction, for iPhone, a different instruction, and see the visual cues with the share button and so on. So it helps, this visual cues help you to identify the same icons on the phone. So this is how you appeal to the user's task in hand by giving exact information, but only that information that's required to complete that particular task. So let's go back. Is there another example? Yeah, there is one more. Maybe, yeah, how to pin a chat. You see that how they have organized. So they have explained what is pinning a chat means. You can easily find a chat. For iPhone, swipe right, tap in. For Android, do this. So for unpin, for iPhone, this is. For Android, this is. As simple, direct, clear, nothing, no confusion, no room for confusion. And remember, Usha said like you can collect feedback. See, was this article helpful? You can mark yes. If you click no, I think it will open a feedback button and you can enter Could you click no? Maybe I think it enter. So you can give suggestions. It was confusing, didn't answer my question, doesn't work. So there are options that you can give. Just showing like how to, give feedback. So let's go back to the slide. So we can go on and on this characteristic effect, how to make the content effective enough for the audience to use. But considering the time, I'm concluding here, and I will pass it on to Usha to continue.
Okay. Right. So by now, probably you would have got an idea of what technical writing is all about, all the skills that are required, like at least some flavor of it, right? So now probably most of you may be thinking like, is this the right profession for me? So we've come up with some some questions here that you need to ask yourself, right? So as we have been emphasizing throughout this webinar, you don't need like Shashi Tharoor's vocabulary to become a technical writer. So anyone who can write in very clear and simple English can become technical writers. So again, it depends on, yes, you need to learn new skills, but that shouldn't stop you from becoming a technical writer. So you should be open to learning new skills, but also write in a very clear and correct English. So and also, like, do you enjoy using technology? Do you enjoy, like, do you go and explore? So one thing that you can determine whether you love technology is, like, if you're someone who, you go and kind of mend your apps, like, try different versions or try different options that you can see on your laptop or on your iPhone or on your mobile, for example. So are you someone who enjoys doing all those things? Do you like to read about technology? So when you read a newspaper, do you also read about, all the new, what are the new enhancements in a specific, area? So, or it could be like whether there's some new version of some software, that's available. So do you enjoy like learning? It could be generic, right? Learning about the tools, learning about the domain. Do you like to enhance your skills in that area? And do you also enjoy writing about it? Let's say, like, you learn something new, and it could be just a post on Facebook. You would say like, hey, I used it and I liked it. It could be like, why explaining like your friends, what you liked about something, or why you liked it, or why you don't like it. It could be like your bike, for example. You got a new bike and they say, hey, I like this bike and it does X, Y, and Z, and I don't like, like it doesn't give me a good mileage or something. That's kind of like, the question to ask yourself, whether you enjoy things like that. And then, yeah, attitude to pick up new skills. So both Radhika and I work in the stream called container technology within the software industry. Whereas this is not what I was doing, like probably like a couple of years ago. That was completely different. So every time you join a new organization, you need to pick up something new. So what they look for in when hiring a technical writer is whether you have the right aptitude to learn. So some experience, it does matter, but like that will not define. So if you're a new starter, so all they look for is like, whether you have this attitude to pick up new skills, whether you can write in good English, whether you can pick up new skills, and whether you have the aptitude to like, talk to people and work as part of a team. You're not like, working in your own room, in your own bubble. You need to burst your bubble and then go and talk to people. So you need to be a team player, build relationships. Like, I can't emphasize that enough. So it's very, very important for a technical writer to build very good relationships within like the entire organization. So you need to be visible. You need to ask questions. There could be something that the developer has given that you don't understand, in which case you need to ask. Nothing is dumb, so no one will judge you for that. So you need to be able to like, ask questions when you don't understand something. And again, like any other profession, like it's not like a bed of roses. It does come with some work pressure. There will be deadlines. There would be some days where you have to stay late to complete some task. And and no one, like, in most of the software organization, it's not like, from 9 to 5 or something. No one will be monitoring, or in most of the organization, your time. So you need to be a self-starter who can get things done, enjoy working as part of a team. And it does come with some pressure, but you should be able to handle that. But I'm not scaring you all, but just giving you like a complete picture of this career. So yeah, so how do you launch? So as I said in the introduction, you attend this webinar, you go home, what next, right? So how do you launch yourself? So the first thing, I'll explain some of these concepts and give you my story, how I became a technical writer. And then Radhika will share hers as well. So even before you apply for a technical writing role, you need to have a very good CV. So that's even more important if you're a technical writer, because this is kind of your representation. So you are showing how you can write, how you organize content, how you use some of the visual elements like the bulleted list or the numbers or even the lines on your CV. So it's very important that you create a very good CV. And if you have written any blogs, for example, so include those. So, write blogs. So you don't have to share it initially, like if you're not very comfortable, but keep writing. So every time you write, you become like a better writer. So keep writing. And then if you like, as I said, like you got a gadget and you'd like to write a review of that, just go ahead and write those reviews. And make sure you just have a link to wherever you have reviewed those products. All those will go to prove that you are interested in writing. It doesn't have to be technology. It doesn't have to be software. Anything that you want to review. It could be a movie review, for example. So at least you have some sort of flair for writing. So, and we briefly touched upon the open source projects. So open source projects are where the software is there will be a team dedicated to creating the software, but the users can also contribute to the code or to the features. So that's called open source. So so that applies for documentation as well. So the document, as I said, the company I work for, most of the projects are open source, where people can contribute. There's a dedicated team of team of people, but a user can also contribute to the features and documentation. So you can identify some open source projects and start even by, there could be something like a typo, they've added an extra A or extra E at the end of it. You can just fix that while you're students. You don't have to even enter, be an employee of the organization. You can start contributing to those projects. And when you do it, you get kind of a sense of satisfaction. You see your name as a contributor. That gives a lot of high, when you see your name being added in those projects. And then once you apply, if you start listing all the open source projects that you're contributing to, so it adds a lot of value and tells a very good story about you. And then attending meetups for technical writers. There are quite a lot of meetups, and we'll have some links later. So there's Write the Docs, there's Society for Technical Communicators. You go and meet people who are already technical writers. So you get some insight into, what the field is all about, what are the challenges they face, what are the skills that you need to learn. So, and then there are a lot of forums, as I said, you can subscribe to those and get some mailing, be part of the mailing list. So you can read about the new, the advancement in the technology and what are the new skills that technical writers need to keep up with. And yeah, so that's kind of in a nutshell, what you need to become a technical writer, and then, launching yourself. So when I was studying journalism, we had a similar session from Society for Technical Communicators. They came to Manasa Gangotri, and then they had a session on, what technical writing, a very similar session. So until then, I didn't know what technical writing was all about. So a couple of us, we went and attended, we did this internship, we had the CV, they had an intern position open. So I got through the internship. And a couple of months later, they asked me whether I want to become a full-time employee. So that's how I got into technical writing. So I'll now switch it over to Radhika, who will also share her part of story. So you can kind of relate to and get some insights from it. Radhika, over to you.
Thanks, Usha. So as she said, I studied in Manasa Gangotri, but my experience has been different. It was not easy. I got to know about technical writing from one of my juniors. So she said, "Oh, you have done computer science in your bachelor's. Why don't you do technical writing?" So that's when I heard about technical writing. I haven't attended any sessions There was nobody came to the department to give any sessions on technical writing. So it's more or less I had to walk the path until I found the right path. So I started as a sub-editor at a small house publication for a computer magazine. So that is when I have to interview none other than Richard Stallman, who's the founder of GNU, who's the big name in open source, and got to know about open source. And at the same time, there was a case happening between Novell, which is a Linux-based company, and Microsoft, which is completely proprietary back in the days, but now they have changed. So there was a war happening between them, and I read about the news, and Microsoft had to pay some huge amount, like billions, to Novell and blah blah blah. So somehow I was impressed with Novell, and while working as sub-editor, I somehow I came across this opening at Novell for a technical writing contract position. So I went and attended. So the interviewer asked me, why do you want to work at Novell? I said, I am passionate about open source. See, I met Richard Stallman, and I'm totally into open source, and I wanted to work in open source. Coincidentally, he was heading the open source team at Novell. It's luck, actually. So with that one statement, but it was honest. And till now, I'm working in open source, and even like each stage, that passion for open source, brought me everything, like gave me everything what I have today. So that single statement and the passion for open source got me into job, and within few months, he absorbed me into his team, and I started contributing to GNOME, and there, that's the history. So what I'm trying to tell is, like, be passionate about something and be honest, and of course your passion would take you to places. Even like coming to US is because of open source. Let me be honest, because of my contribution to open source, I got a transfer from Bangalore to US. So be truthful, be honest, and be passionate about whatever you do. And see, I am from Wayanad. I studied in Malayalam medium, and I picked up language. And if I can do, anybody could do. I'm sure like things are not like back in the days, and everybody has opportunities to come up in life. So use it and be passionate. Yeah. So let's move to next slide, and we can share those. So here we are leaving some useful resources. So most of them are like learning resources from Write the Docs, MIT, that is Massachusetts Institute of Technology. They have excellent materials on technical writing. And Google has excellent materials on technical writing. And we have also given links to style guides and materials from Society for Technical Communicators and so on. And so I would always encourage you to apply for Season of Docs, which is an open source program run by Google Doc, which give you an opportunity to contribute to an open source project under the banner of Google. So you are working on behalf of, like, you're working as a Google Season of Doc person on a project. So it gives you a very good rapport with people, very good exposure to the MNC world, and I would encourage you to apply to Season of Docs. And yes, Usha is working at Docker. I am working at Sysdig. We both work in open source world. If any of you would like to contribute, let us know. We can help you further to contribute to any of the open source project. And there is a salary survey report. So there is a question on salary. So it would give you a good idea of where the salary structure stands in India. And if you have, I think there is a similar one for US and UK. If you Google, you can find it. So back in the days, the salary structure was different. Now it has improved. So the latest information is here, so you can refer to that for any salary related questions. So Usha, do you have anything to add to it?
No, nothing, Radhika. So probably would say like, if you have any questions, like, Radhika and I will be happy. So we have our email IDs. You can email to us or get in touch with us. And
Yeah,
we'll be
ma'am.
happy to do like a one-to-one mentoring, like, for someone like,
Thank you,
who's
Usha
really
madam.
keen on
Thank you,
doing it.
Radhika madam.
Sure. Okay. Yes, I just wanted to conclude with that. So
Thank you, Usha
anyone
madam.
who's
Thank you,
interested,
Radhika madam, for the nice presentation.
I think there are several questions on the chat.
Raghavendra, I would like
Yeah,
to
Radhika madam.
interfere here.
Yeah, Radhika madam, our principal want to some clarification. Both of us, we can clarify the things. Madam, over to you, madam. Go, madam.
Yeah. Usha and Radhika, I'm glad that we've had young and vibrant technical writers, and it was really a very good presentation and a technical know-how of how one should become a technical writer. Thank you very much for that. And I would also like to ask you, is a technical writer part of the advertising unit of the organization? You're almost kind of selling the product, right? Indirectly.
Yeah, yes and no. I would say there'll be like a dedicated marketing team usually in an organization who take care of, advertising the product, to like a sales part of it, to say like, there are white papers and marketing materials. That's a very good question, by the way. There's a lot of overlap between marketing and technical writing. So if you consider WhatsApp, probably like a marketing team would go and just like, post it on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and other media. Whereas a technical writer would write like a documentation on how to do certain things, those features.
And I'm deeply interested in my students. So I would like to ask you, if our students would want to take up technical writing, where would you direct them to? Because you've already given us quite a few network address and all that. But apart from that, in Bangalore, are there certain technical writing centers, training centers where you can direct them to? Or is there a tailor-made technical writer? An institute that can ultimately produce one? Some kind of an idea on that.
I can go on. So my opinion, you don't have to attend any training institute to be a technical writer. So start with like, the kind of language skill you require. Pick up those basic English skills, like how to structure simple English. Like anybody can write like flowery language. Journalistic students. So, but like try to learn that, pick up that simple English, like how to write simple and short sentences, things like that, and understand. Like there are like several materials available. Out there, just go through them and then like start attending those meetups. There are several openings for freshers. You can intern. See, even I didn't know any tools, anything at all when I joined Novel. Everything I picked up on job. So anybody can do that. So people, I mean, when we hire technical writer, we don't stress on like, okay, you should have a technical writing certificate also. So if when we give test, we check like whether they can write clear English, they can communicate properly, and they have the passion. That's very important.
Passion, absolutely. That's
the thing that we look at. So I'm not pro training centers. What do you think, Usha?
Yeah, I think I covered it nicely. So I would say like, start with some of the links, like, the online, courses that are available. That's like, that's more than enough. You can use those in your CVs as well that you have completed. Like Season of Dogs is like an excellent, way to get into it. So,
it's for those who really have a passion for it, and those who are the self-learning types. But my interest is, the kind of laid backs and like I want to push my students towards it. So I kind of we are trained to have a teacher in front, to train them. If there is something of that kind, probably that'll help quite a few to get into this line, because this is an interesting line as far as I can see. So that's how I thought that if there is some kind of a training center, then later on they can jump from there. So I think they can use your email IDs and ask questions and find a solution to these issues.
Yeah, I think there's a Facebook group called Twin, TWIN, which is
Okay.
technical writers of India. So
Okay.
like your students can get in, asked to be members of those groups, and some people keep advertising some courses there. So
Okay.
again, I would just see how many students have previously enrolled even before I write. And there's another thing called Write Concepts.
Okay.
So I'll put it on chat. So that is
Yeah.
in. So they do some course as well. So
Okay.
And
So I
STC has their editing
Okay.
programs. So that is good one because some training institute they charge
I know.
and they just blog, but
Yeah.
like
No,
STC right
nothing comes in a silver platter. You need to really work hard and throw in money in order to get back. So, I mean, we can help some of those who are really interested in it to take up. So that's how I thought of it. But anyway, you two are really motivating factors. So I'm glad that we had both of you as resource persons, and it was a really exciting session. Thank you. Thank you, Usha and Radhika.
yeah, thanks for the opportunity. We really enjoyed the session. So, and thank you to all participants. I've been seeing the chat now. I wasn't able to see anything. I couldn't thank each and one of you. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for, being there for the full part of 1.5 hours. Appreciate your patience. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Over to Raghavendra.
I think you are muted, Raghavendra.
Yeah, sorry, madam. I request Reshma Gaurama has few questions. I request Reshma Gaurama to unmute yourself and get clarification with the resource persons. Reshma Gaurama?
Yes.
Yeah, I can get clarification with the resource person. Over to you. Yeah, go ahead, madam.
So Reshma has two questions. One question is, can we use Google Slides? So look at this way. Do we like to read a book on Google Slides?
Can you hear me, Radhika?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
Good to see you. Yeah. I have already typed my questions there.
So Google Slide, PowerPoint presentation is for giving presentation. There is a limit for the content we can present. There is a limit for, the kind of structure or kind of organization we can do with the content, and people won't like to look at slides after slides after slides. So there is a way to read, like we are used to reading books, so people expect that kind of a page rather than looking at slides. So the intention of having slides is, short, crisp, to the point, and to be business like sessions like this. So not for lengthy content. So Usha, you can add if you have.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think most of the organizations also prefer Google Slide these days. It's open and then and easily accessible rather than the locked down version. So yeah, and the format in which you can share the restrictions to the numbers also matters. So yeah.
And the next one is MS Office in this. Okay.
Yeah. So because it's all Google suite of products, right? So you have your Gmail. So at my work, I have we use Gmail as our primary email. So whereas if you have this Microsoft package, you have Outlook and other tools like Word, PowerPoint, etc. So we use the Google suite of tools, which means we get Google Drive, we get Gmail, and then Google Slides. So yeah.
Google Classroom if you are
Yes. Radhika and Usha, thank you so much.
Thank you, Reshma. And there was one question of pressure. I think I kind of briefly saw. So when I said it's just like a normal work pressure that you have in any other job. It's not there'll be a lot of pressure or anything. So you will have some deadlines. So you'll need to make sure that you're aligned to those dates when you work on any documentation. So nothing else. I don't want to scare anyone here. So there's not a lot of pressure involved.
So there is a question like, where do technical writers get outsourced jobs? So it depends on the organization you work. You can be freelancers and you can work for an organization as not as an employee but as a freelancer. Like how you freelance writers contribute article, like that way you can write technical documentation. And say you are working in a service company, you might get overseas opportunity to go abroad and sit with the product team or like the clients and create art, documentation. So it depends on the organization you work and the kind of area you choose. So mostly this is like service-based companies give overseas opportunities, and maybe like as freelancers also. So from product-based company, yes, I moved from product-based company from Bangalore to US, but it's not that easy. So it's all depend on the product and company and the organization. If there is an opportunity and if they need a resource person here, and you think that this person rightly fit into this position, they would give that transfer. But it's not as easy. I just had no luck.
Yeah. Thank you, madam. Any questions with any participants? Yeah. And one instruction to the participants, the feedback link for the e-certificate will be posted in the chat box. Please fill up the feedback link for your e-certificates. It will be open for another 15 minutes. Now, I request I am Somana sir to render the vote of thanks. Somana sir, over to you.
Yeah, thanks everybody for your patience. It's like, honestly, I wasn't sure we could be able to stretch the session so long. And Usha, sorry for waking you up early, and Radhika, you can go back to sleep finally. All right. And we are, on behalf of my institution, the management, and everybody, I convey like my very heartfelt gratitude for participating. And seriously, many people like this, whoever has participated, they might go in for a career changeover or think about picking up technical writing. And there's a question about the salary part. I don't think salary, you will not have an idea for now, but looking at Usha and Radhika, seriously, you could have gauged like with 3 cycles packed behind her and staying abroad and all. So the salary package, you might be knowing what it can be like. The other side, it is really, really informative, and it was interactive. I really wanted you people to have some interaction. I am so blessed like I could do that. So thanks for coming on board, and hope to see you some again like some other platforms. And I would like to thank our principal, Professor Puoma ma'am, for a cordial cooperation. Our IQAC convener, Raghavendra sir, with all his technical inputs, and he has been the backbone behind this session. And along with that, we have on the technical team, we have Vinod, who has also helped us a lot. So thanks everybody for joining in, and please fill in your feedback forms, and hopefully we can see some technical writers breeding around. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Somana. Somana is a very good friend of mine. For those who don't know, Somana and I, studied journalism together. I'm so happy that he's heading the Department of Journalism at Cauvery College. I'm very happy to be part of it, Somana. And thank you so much for the opportunity. Really enjoyed the session. Thank you, Puoma ma'am, and all the faculty for organizing. And Raghavendra sir, you've been fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
madam. Thank you, Ananda. Now, thank you so much for you also. Now we have stand up for the national anthem.
गणमन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभांगे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you. Thank you, one and all. Dear participants, you can fill the feedback for the certificates. It will be open for another 15 minutes. Still go.